that supposed time frame then, while that layer was supposed to be laid out. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, and they even admit it themselves. Edmund Spiker, one of the leading evolutionists on this issue, listen to this quote of his. The geologic column is more of a concept than a reality. 80 to 85% of the Earth's land surface does not even have 3 of the 10 geologic periods, appearing in the correct consecutive order required by evolutionism. Even the walls of the Grand Canyon include only about 5 of these periods. Now, I find this amazing. The one place on the planet that shows more strata than anywhere else in the whole world, more than half doesn't exist there. 80 to 85% of the Earth doesn't even have 3 of the 10 where they ought to be, and the entire thing is a concept, not reality. Well, the question is then, why is it that people want to take all of that time out there and accept it? And oftentimes, people even want to put it into the Bible. I had several folks email me just today about how they want to take all this time and put it into the Bible. Well, why would somebody want to do that when, admittedly, it doesn't even exist? There's only one reason. See, somewhere down the line, they were taught that kind of time exists. See, folks, what a person is taught, whether it's self-taught or somebody taught it to them, all anybody knows is what it is they know. That's all they can know. Listen, there may be somebody in here that can build an alternator. You may be able to build an alternator so well you could teach somebody else how to build an alternator. Maybe you could teach yourself how to build one. But unless you know how to build an alternator, you can't build an alternator. See, the issue is what a person knows is all they know. So if all they've ever heard is one side of a coin, they don't have any clue that there is even another side, much less that there's any validity to that other side, you see. So it becomes a very important point. Now, watch this. We're in Sternberg Museum in Kansas, and we came across this sign right here. This is a perfect definition of evolution right here. Evolution is the complex of processes through which living organisms originated from non-living matter and have become modified and diversified through sustained changes in form and function. Hey man, that's a perfect definition of evolution. Evolution by definition is complex. Can't really explain it. Where non-life turns into life and then turns into some other variety over time. Now, all the textbooks, as most of you in this room know, they say they have evidence for this kind of stuff, okay? And here's an example. All museums do this, all textbooks do this. They say homology. There's a similar bone structure to everything. They say it proves that we all go back to a common ancestor. And the way it works, the human, we have a radius and an ulna in our arm. Well, they say, well, so does a cat and a whale and a horse and a bat, an alligator, sheep, chicken, lizard, fish. They say everything in its front leg, its wing, its fin, its flipper, or whatever, has a radius and an ulna. And they say, all the textbooks do this. They all say it proves that we all go back to some common ancestor back in time. Well, anybody's free to believe that if they'd like to. But is that really science? See, that's where the problem comes in with this. Now watch this. This Campbell Reef's biology textbook, maybe somebody in this room uses this book, I don't know. But here's the thing. They have this homology picture here, or diagram. It says, such anatomical peculiarities make no sense if the structures are uniquely engineered and unrelated. Folks, what this sentence right here is saying is this makes no sense if there's a God that put us here. And I'll show you why I say that here in a minute. But, you know, here's the thing, folks. These textbooks, many of these textbooks these days, are starting to not only say evolution is a fact and present it as a fact, but they're starting to ridicule the Bible. Here is where a big problem comes in. If a textbook is going to say the Bible is wrong, then somebody ought to be able to go in and defend it. That's just only being fair. But nevertheless, that's usually not what happens. Watch this, Glencoe biology textbook here. As you've just observed, each animal in figure 12.3, all right, figure 12.3, has a four-limb structure that is a variation of a common pattern. The commonality suggests that these other vertebrate animals are all related. They probably evolved from a common ancestor that had the same basic limb structure. A bird, a horse, and a human. Now folks, anybody is welcome to believe that the birds, the horses, and the humans came from the same common ancestor if they would like to. People are free to believe whatever they want to. But I would dare say there's no science to that at all. Now let me give you an analogy of something. It seems kind of silly, but hey, all analogies break down at some point. But let me try to grab one of these little books down here. I can't even reach down here. I wish I had a big old heavy biology textbook, man. Let me show you something. And all textbooks do this. I'll show you tomorrow, where they say, well, and some of you probably, if during question and answer time, you're going to want to bring this up. You know, gravity. Well, we can't see gravity, but we know it's true, and therefore evolution happened. And all the textbooks make that connection. I'll show you some of that tomorrow if you come back. But nevertheless, let me run this by you. Yeah, if I have this book, now if I have this book, and I believe that if I set this book out in front of me like this, if I spread my hands apart, I have a rock-solid belief that this book is going to slam into the ceiling. Okay? Anybody with me? Anybody believe it? One. Yes. Man, I was hoping I wouldn't be totally by myself. Okay, well, somebody else give me an idea. What do you think it's going to do? Somebody. fall to the floor. Okay, who said that? Okay, we obviously have competing belief systems, okay? I believe the book's going to the ceiling. This lady back here thinks the book's going to fall to the floor. Now, how can we show who's right or who's wrong? What is it? Do it, right? Do the experiment. Okay, science experiment. So here we're going to go. Watch this. I'm going to take my hands. I'm going to spread my hands apart, folks. You're going to be amazed at what you're going to see here, because this book is going to slam into that ceiling right there. You've never seen anything like this in your life, okay? All right, here we go. Who's laughing at me? This guy's laughing at me. Wait a minute. It's a trick book. It must be, right? Yeah. Hey, wait a minute. It didn't work. You know, sometimes when you do a science experiment, it doesn't work. So what should you do? Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Repeat the experiment. Hey, folks, you know what? Here's the thing. Now, I could do this experiment 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. I can do it however many times I want to. And if I keep getting the same results, I would say at some point, if I'm honest with myself and my colleagues that I'm working with, I would say, what would I have to do to my belief system? Change it. Why? Because it doesn't fit the facts. It doesn't fit the evidence by any means. Now, I can continue, can I not? I can continue to believe the book's going to slam to the ceiling, right? I can believe whatever I want, right? Anybody's free to believe whatever they want. But see, folks, it would absolutely fly in the face of all the evidence. Well, now listen. I would dare say anybody is free to continue to believe the birds, the horses, and the humans came from the same common ancestor. But it flies in the face of evidence. Because birds, you can watch a bird give birth to another bird. You can watch the eggs. You can watch those eggs daily. You can put them in a room. You can keep an eye on them. You can put a video camera there. You can keep an eye on them every second. And you're going to watch another bird. You can watch a horse give birth to a horse. Anytime you can do the experiment, you can watch a human give birth to a human. You can never see some common ancestor give birth to a bird, a horse, and a human. But in order to be science, you've got to be able to observe, test, and demonstrate. Now, people are still free to believe the book's going to slam to the ceiling if they want to, but it is not what the evidence confirms. You see, there are often two ways to look at the same thing. Let me give you an example of something else here. Just because there's a similarity, that doesn't mean anything. You know, most of you probably have a car, truck, van of some sort. And you can do a little survey of these vehicles. You're going to find some amazing similarities. You're going to find every one of them have the headlights in the front. That's amazing, man. They all have the taillights in the back. Well, that's a strange phenomenon. Hey, folks, the obvious common design must, therefore, scientifically prove they all go back to a Mini Cooper 80 million years ago or something, right? No, sir. It means the basic overall structure works. So they use it over and over and over and over and over with slight modifications every now and then. Hey, you know what? Maybe God's putting things together and he says, hey, that's going to work. So he uses it over and over and over with slight modifications here and there. See, the issue is, folks, if there's a similarity of something, does it mean they used to be each other? Or does it mean the same creator created? See, there are often two ways to look at the exact same thing. There may be somebody in this room that knows paintings. Man, you can walk into a room, you see a painting, you know immediately who painted that thing without ever looking at the signature. Why? Because there are similarities in that painter's paintings. Okay? Now, it doesn't mean that this one used to be this one. They all go back to a common ancestor of this one. It means the same painter painted them. Well, maybe the same designer designed the thing. Hey, look, if you have somebody that makes something, whether it's some kind of woodworking thing, or whether it's some kind of glass thing, or whatever, oftentimes there are common designs. It doesn't mean they used to be each other, or came from each other, or anything of the sort. It means the same creator created them. That's all. There are often two ways to look at the same thing. Now, we were at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Beautiful museum. Big entryway over the entryway here. But anyway, look what it says here. University museums. Go to nature. Take the facts in your own hands. Look and see for yourself. Now, facts. It's always presented in these textbooks as though it's a fact. It's presented in museums as though it's a fact. You can go run by Walmart, Target, Toys R Us. Look at facts, facts, facts. They always present this stuff as a fact. And so therefore everybody sees it that way. And it's been on all the McDonald's Happy Meal cups, so everybody assumes it must be true because everybody keeps saying the thing. And so therefore people tend to believe it. Well, they can believe it all they want. But if there's no science, no evidence for it, then it's just a belief system, you see. That's religion by definition. Now watch this. In the 1800s, all these layers were given a label. And on this label comes a length of time, a name, an index fossil, and all that kind of stuff. In the index fossil system, you know, most of you probably are familiar with the index fossil system. They say the graptolites and trilobites, they say make good index fossils. Well, we've got graptolites and trilobites in the trays down. Well, this tray right here has a trilobite anyway. I'll bring one tomorrow, has some graptolite and some more trilobites in it. But they say they're good index fossils.